Three, two, one. What is up, everybody? And welcome back to Zachary Reality. That was a crazy episode of The Traitors. Season 2, Episode 6. A traitor was finally exposed, finally revealed. We saw it coming. I can't lie. I can't say I'm surprised, but we will get into all of it. Lots of exciting things to talk about today. I have an exciting announcement to share. So we have Connor back here to break down season 2, episode 6. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. I'm on the edge of my seat. Number one, waiting for this announcement that you just said, and two, that episode was insane. So I'm so excited to talk about it.
I have so much anxiety from that episode. Like the entire time, I was shaking. You finished before me because I paused a couple times to pee, like take a glass of water. Like it was so intense and so much to process.
I know. I paused the episode just to see how much time was left because I needed to watch more. I was waiting for so much more information to come out, but of course the cliffhanger at the end that we'll get to, but oh my, just such good TV. I loved it.
Oh my god, it was such good TV. The cliffhanger, the everything about Dan coming for Phaedra, I never would have thought that, but that theory was online. Carly, who was here last week when you were gone, she said that, and I was like, what? It never would have crossed my mind if other people didn't bring it to my attention.
Yeah, I thought it at the beginning of the episode and a little bit when I was watching clips. I thought that Dan might turn on Parvati before Phaedra, but just such a mistake on Dan's part. He just blew up his entire game, and I think it shows that he underestimated Phaedra this whole time because, let's be honest, she roasted his ass. It's crazy.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. So when we picked off last time, Parvati and Phaedra, that's the last time you were on.
Yeah.
They ended up making amends pretty quickly. The last time we talked, we didn't know what Parvati was going to say. So I was just wondering your thoughts on last week's episode, that being a thing, and then Janelle being sent home.
So another Big Brother player, we'll start with Janelle. Another Big Brother player that just, I think dug her own grave with that one. I think Janelle was throwing out way too many names, which was just such a bad strategy. I think she could have just stuck with either whoever she had initially thrown out. She had thrown out Dan. I heard she had thrown out Parvati online as well, and everyone else that she was throwing under the bus basically. So I was really sad to see Janelle's game just implode, and I think that was unfortunate because she really did it to herself. With Parvati, I think I was saying the week before how her strategy would be best to just deflect all of Phaedra's comments and kind of just go with what Phaedra said and apologize. I think a part of me wanted to see a little bit more chaos, but for Parvati's overall game, I think it was best to just diffuse the situation as much as possible with Phaedra, which I was happy to see because I think it saved her, a lot more trouble at the end of the day. So
yeah, because the traitors have to work together, and I think that Dan doing what he did was such a ballsy move because it's just how are you going to go back to that cave and look Phaedra in the face? There was no way that was going to happen. So I don't know if he just truly knew that going into it, and that's why he did that. And we're going to obviously get to it, but we're still on the rush. But I'm glad Parvati and Phaedra made up, like you were saying, because we were really rooting for both of them. And I think that now they're stronger than ever, especially after what they went through this episode. So the two of them together, I'm feeling great about it. And if they're recruiting Peter, that's a PPP. Sign me up.
Well, I hope Peter says yes to this call. I don't really think he has a choice. I don't think Peter has a choice because if he says yes, then sure, he's a traitor, and then Phaedra and Parvati's plan is going accordingly. But if he says no, for the PPP plan, and if he says no, then I think he's screwed. So I think he's really caught in a bad position here.
Well, Phaedra did say, she was let's vote out Peter, right? Originally, before they knew that Alan was coming in to grant them another traitor. But Parvati was like, that's so obvious. So Parvati potentially could have picked him. But now it seems like Peter has to decide in this moment. And if he says no, then they will know that he said no, and then they could vote, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise, they're going to
think of that.
But otherwise, they're going to bring Peter in, and then he's most likely going to participate in the murder, which will, the PPP could decide. And then who do you think they'll murder?
Ooh, I think they're going to corner Peter into murdering one of his own alliance.
Fergie?
I could see either a Fergie boot, a Kevin murder, or maybe Trishelle. or CT. So it's got to be one of those, in my opinion. If let's say if Peter becomes a traitor, Parvati and Phaedra, I think they're smarter than him. Two brains are better than one here, and I think they're going to find a way to make Peter vote out one of his own alliance members. And they even said it. Phaedra she had that iconic quote at the end. She goes, what she said, so I'm going to do it totally wrong here, but she said something like, his friends, we're going to recruit him and then we're going to murder his friends or something like that.
Well, let's see how he murders his friends.
Yeah.
The funny thing she said was, what we haven't gotten yet is, I am not on The Bachelor and I do not have to kiss your ass for a rose.
We haven't seen that yet, have we?
I know, but sometimes we see things in teasers and they never make the episodes.
Yeah.
But did you hear what Parvati said that was so iconic?
What did she say? She goes something about him being the Bachelor. What you watched it more recently than me. What did he say?
I tweeted it because it was important to me.
Okay.
So follow me on Twitter, guys. Zachary Reality. Really, it's just me versus Peter, and I'm going to take that Bachelor down.
I think that's where I paused it, and I just had to just yell out just so much. I was like, yes, take him down.
Because Peter is running the whole house. And then I said, Peter has to be recruited. This episode was crazy. I have so much anxiety. The silent slaughterer, when John said that about Dan.
Yes.
Oh, iconic. Parvati just said a few really fun things. It was crazy to see Parvati versus Peter. But why didn't they get rid of Peter last week when they tried to get rid of Bergie?
Because they listened to because Dan took the bait of believing Peter when he said that him and Janelle had the shield, and he took that fully. And Parvati was trying to tell him, no, that's not true. So that's why they didn't take a shot at him. Then I totally think that's why. And now, as we see in this episode, in the first few minutes that play out at breakfast, the Traitors are paying for it. They're totally paying for it because they didn't take the shot. And Parvati was right at the end of the day, as she usually always is. And
yes, because Parvati took the lead on the last vote, or Phaedra did. Phaedra did. Parvati took the Ekansu vote. Phaedra took the Tamra vote. Yep. So it was Dan's turn. So Dan screwed up his own game, but it does directly affect Phaedra and Parvati's game a little bit. So now there's so many different layers.
I just don't know why. I just don't know why they didn't play it safe. And if there was any speculation, Dan should have chosen someone that was in the house to banish. He should, or to murder. They should not have chosen someone that was outside in that group. They should have chosen someone that was on that bird hunt in last week's episode, just because they would have known that no one would have had a shield. So whatever target they pick, they're going to hit. If there was any doubt in their mind that the person that they may go for wasn't going to work out, then why would they do it? It was such I understand the risk behind it, but Dan should have known, and maybe he did know, that if he was wrong, he was going to get banished. And we saw it happen today.
They really screwed up by going for Bergie and picking someone in that alliance when they could have gone for Sandra or MJ.
Yeah.
Who I think are still two players that could get accused of being traitors because they've been under the radar as well. If Parvati and Peter and Phaedra need to convince somebody that someone else is a traitor, I think they'll try on convince MJ or Sandra.
100%. And we know that Parvati and Sandra have beef, and I'm going to say it. I know that they reconciled in episode 1 with Peppermint, but I have a feeling that we're going to see something else between them this season. I'm hopeful. No. I need to see some more drama between the two of them. But I need to see them work together.
We deserve Parvati versus Phaedra. We deserve Parvati versus Sandra part 3. We deserve that, and it's the build-up.
Exactly.
This episode was so good. Every episode is getting better and better. This was so good, and the fact that the other episodes coming are going to be even better.
Yeah.
We're only halfway through.
Oh my gosh. I need to keep watching. I wish the next episode was out now. I don't know how we're going to make it till April or whenever this finale begins or starts or whatever. But having one episode a week is literally killing me. I can't do this.
But that was episode 6, and last year there was 10 episodes. So I actually think that we might be.
There's got to be more.
You think there's
so many people. There's so many people left in the game still. There's
yeah, but they can get rid of 2 people an episode, 3 people an episode. The final is usually just 5 or 6 people.
Was that how it was last season? No, I guess there was 5 or 6, weren't there?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Okay. What did you think about Kate Chastain coming in?
Okay. This might be a hot take, but I don't know if I like her back because we saw a lot of the same stuff last season. Kate complained a lot. She wasn't good at any of the challenges. Sure, she was great TV. I will give her that. But like, we're seeing the same note and the same narrative this time around, and she's not really doing much for me. I'm sorry. Like, there's just a lot of the same shit that we saw last season, which was good then. But like, to come back and do it again, like I want to see Kate like call out people's names this time around. I just see her like kind of taking a backseat. Another roundtable where she just went with the majority. And if I were anyone else that had seen Trait season 1 and I was at that round table, I'd be like, "Kate, you're awfully quiet. We saw you last season. You played a very different game. What's with the shakeup?"
See, I get what you're saying, but like she just got here like an episode ago. So she's playing it cool. She's getting to know people. She's not the star of this season. She was the star of last season. So she needs to take a second.
But you can say that she did that from the get-go last year too. Like in the first two episodes, you knew what she was about. Like,
yeah. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying, like, give her a second to come in. I was against it last week. I was like, I don't want her here. It doesn't make sense. I don't want a new player coming in halfway through. But now it's just like, whatever. Like, she's adding something to the show. I think she'll be a part of the greater story. I don't think she will be a part of the winning team. I don't think she needs to be. And I don't think she's going to be a main character. I don't think this is not her season, but I think she'll be a great supporting role and comical relief. And I think she'll be a part of at least one big traitor takedown.
Yeah. I think so. I think we did a flip-flop because I think last week I was super excited about it, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm not," and now I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling it. If they were to bring someone back, I selfishly would have loved for them to bring back Shere to be a faithful this time, to like go after the traitors. That would have been amazing.
Shere won last season. Like,
I know, but that would have been great to see her as a faithful coming in to bring back or to get traitors. So selfishly, maybe for Traitors All-Stars, if that whenever that happens, we can see her. But
who else is coming? Didn't they release that like someone from Big Brother is gonna pop in?
Yeah, Dr. Will is coming. I don't know what he's gonna do though, because for Big Brother, he does like for the jury when they're like sequestered before they vote for the winner. Dr. Will was the winner of season 2, I believe, of Big Brother. And he is now like the narrator of like the jury. So he does all the narration for like the jury sequences in the final episode of Big Brother for them to decide who they're going to like vote to win. So he like leads the round table himself. So
he's going to host a challenge. He's going to host a challenge.
You think, or do you know?
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited because Dr. Will's awesome. So.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here because last week me and Carly were mixing up Trishelle and Janelle, and we got roasted in the comments.
I'll set the record straight. No. We got. I love Janelle. Trishelle is growing on me too. I have really started to like Trishelle, and from not knowing her at all this season. But you can't confuse the two of them. Come on.
I'm not anymore. I'm not. Janelle went home, and I actually really like Janelle. I like her takes on Twitter. I'm following her on Twitter now.
Janelle's hilarious on Twitter.
I gave her a little bit of flack last week because I was like, I don't know why her and Tamara are doing a podcast. That's going to give away spoilers. And then they both got eliminated the next night. And I'm like, there's the spoilers. Like don't talk about the show if you're on the show, but now they're off the show. So I want to hear what their takes are.
Yeah.
But
he's also doing podcasts too. I saw Dan did a podcast with Janelle last week, or I think this week, and he did one with Ekansu.
I understand that these reality stars want to, capitalize off of being on the show, but I think that the key game players, do less podcasts and less press during the season, so we don't get anything, because I feel like that's kind of gives it away sometimes.
Well, by process of elimination, we could probably already tell who's going to go far based on that logic, and so far it's right. Based on now seeing Dan do his podcast, he's gone episode 6. Tamara and Janelle are doing it, so I mean it really is telling, who's active on social media and in the podcast sphere and who's not.
Fair enough. Yeah. Let's move on to the challenge. So it was a challenge about getting a catapult together. Peter was leading the challenge, and during the challenge, there was 5 boxes, for an opportunity at a shield. So Shere, Sandra, Kate didn't want it, but Peter got it because she was prancing, right? Parvati and Trishelle.
Yep.
And they all, did the cannonball thing to see who got closest. They all wanted it. And who got it, Connor?
Shere got it, of all people. And I, to be honest, was a little anticlimactic for me. That was probably like the biggest letdown because I was really rooting for Peter to get it. I wanted Peter so bad to get that shield, because I just think like he would have gone absolutely insane at the round table and would have been like, we would have seen the same thing from last week with Janelle and Sandra of, no, you're a fucking traitor. I wanted to see that same energy out of Peter, knowing that he had his safety. So,
dude, it's gonna be crazy when he sees Parvati in the kingdom.
I know. When that's the biggest thing that I'm going to be looking forward to this week, is just that reaction when Peter takes off his like blind or like his cape and he sees that it's Phaedra and Parvati. That's going to be wild.
Especially because Peter didn't even buy Parvati's defense when she was trying to distance herself from Dan at the round table. We're going to get to the round table, but remember, like he was like, Parvati's lying. He knew.
Yeah. Well, he even knew beforehand. And like, I know that this is a pro Peter podcast.
This is a pro Peter podcast.
What I will say is that I don't know how I felt about him at the beginning of the episode. I think it was even before the challenge, of him pretty much just like calling out Parvati. Like, I think like Parvati was going to him like, hey, like, can we chat? Like, there seems to be some beef between us. Like, let's just squish it now. Peter could have immediately like just been like, oh, you know, like, here are my suspicions. Like, totally good. Like, I understand where you're coming from, and just diffused it. But Peter chose violence. And I like that part, but I don't know how that's going to like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, because I just don't know if that was the right game move, but it's going to play out from being a traitor, I guess.
How do you think I felt when my two favorite players were at each other's throats? How do you think I felt?
You're so conflicted, I bet.
So, well, no, it was a great resolution because Dan got out of the game and now look what happened. But how about the fact that Peter and Parvati are missing out on one of the most iconic showmances of reality TV history? Parvati is in her queer girl era.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you guys know what I mean. Love Parvati. So they're not dating and they're not having a showmance, and it would have been perfect because it would have happened if Parvati was like Parvati from like Survivor. Like, this would have been a showmance.
If Parvati was single, that would be iconic. And
oh my god, Parvati and Peter in a showmance. Like the chemistry they have, like maybe they have tension.
I think they do a little bit. I think Parvati knows that he's a good-looking guy. He knows that she's a good-looking woman, and you know, I'm sure there are some comments here, but I'm pretty sure Parvati at the time was in a relationship when this was filmed. If I'm tracking down my sources correctly, so I wish we could have seen it though. You know, that's in our wildest dreams, I guess.
Yeah, but they'll work together. We'll see. So Shere ends up winning the shields, and I'm loving Shere. I think that, you know, she's not a huge player in the game, but she's funny, and you know, there's a few people floating under the radar, and I think that, you know, not everyone can be the loudest personality.
I agree. I think what really put a bad taste in my mouth was when Shere just like a few weeks back just threw out a random vote for John just because she quote unquote didn't know who to vote for. It's like, girl, what are you talking about? You had all day to think about it and look around, and like, you voted for John, the most faithful of the faithfuls. Like, what kind of strategy is that? Maybe that will come out that was a strategy, or like her voting history is, you know, something. But like, I just was like, did a little eye roll there, because I thought, what are we doing? Like, what's going on, really?
I don't think Shere has like much strategy. I think she's just taking things day by day. She's a little aloof because, you know, there's a lot of strategic players that are playing around her, and I think that, you know, she's not a threat. I think if she goes home, maybe they'll banish her to throw people off, or maybe she'll make it, you know, pretty far, but I don't see her ever getting like voted off.
Not at all. And I think it would be a dumb idea to banish her or to murder her. I think why the traitors should
throw people off. They could murder her because it's like random.
That would be it. But I think the next murder, in my opinion, needs to be from that clique, that like gamer clique of like the Sandra.
No, Sandra's not in it. It's Peter, Kevin, John, Bergie, and Trishelle. That's the alliance of 5.
And CT, right?
He's not in the 5 though.
Okay, you're right. But Sandra's like, I guess Sandra's kind of in the middle though.
Sandra wouldn't commit to an alliance. She's
no, she never has, and she never will.
Because being in a clique of 5 it sucks. In this game, like, people are going to break it up. It's better to just like somehow always stay in the middle. Sandra will make it as far as a faithful can make it.
And that's Sandra's game strategy. That's how she won Survivor twice. She has like the anyone but me type of strategy where she doesn't join any alliances. She doesn't do well in the challenges. She plays her own game. And once everyone kind of, kills each other off at the end of the day, then she kind of swoops in and she's the only one left to give the victory to. That's literally how she won both of her seasons of Survivor. And we're seeing something similar.
Parvati is going to, come up against Sandra. It's going to happen just like it did on Heroes versus Villains.
We're going to see.
Sandra came out victorious on that.
Yeah. And okay, who's going to come out victorious this time? If we do see that Sandra Parvati feud battle 3 this time, who's going to come out victorious?
So it's hard because I feel like this is Parvati's game, and I think the edit she's getting is amazing. And let me tell you that when I was worried for her, obviously, because her and Dan were in trouble. But there was things that she was saying in her confessionals that were making it to air, which really led me to believe as a viewer that she was going to be safe, because they made it a point to make sure that Parvati said, I always find my way around things. I always find my way around things. Yeah. So I feel like Parvati is the main character. But I remember on Survivor Heroes versus Villains, the edit was very misleading. I never would have thought Sandra was going to win until the end. But the winner's edit is always a thing. Like Shere had it last season. And I think Parvati has runner-up edit this season.
So Parvati had runner-up edit in her season of Heroes versus Villains. Sandra, I totally agree with you. Sandra did not have it at all, like in terms of her edit. So I don't know what we're going to see. I think like we have some speculations of like who is going to get there, or I did think I had speculations, but now having Peter, if he does join as a traitor, that really throws my whole theory of who's going to win or who's going to get to the end off by like a million, because I honestly have no idea now, because it just is like a total 180 to the game.
It is. It's unpredictable. Let's just make the correlation of Ari. He was a traitor. He became a traitor halfway through the season. He was recruited. He played such a good game. He was so noble. I fucking love the Bachelor Nation on Traitors. Like, this is incredible to me.
Yeah, I agree. And if I recall, they recruited Ari for similar reasons to Peter, because he was a really good faithful, like you said, and no one would suspect that he was a traitor. They did not really say that tonight, that Phaedra and Parvati didn't say that no one will suspect Peter to be a traitor. I think they're kind of using him as a scapegoat and like kind of a puppet master to get everyone else out at this point. But it's kind of the same energy that we're seeing here. So
yeah, but Peter's more reckless and he's more like outspoken than Ari, and it's actually similar to his breakup on The Bachelor. I felt Ari handled it a little bit better, and Peter's dragged on a little bit, and then he went to a third woman from his season. So I think Peter's game will not end up being as clean cut as Ari's was.
I think Peter's okay with being a little messy. It seems
Peter will get a little bit messier than Ari. So I think it'll be fascinating to see how they coexist. But I think they could work together. I think they could for at least a vote or two.
Yeah, I could see it. I am just interested to see right now how Peter takes being a traitor. If he even says yes, he's got to say yes. I feel like 90% chance that he says yes. He's got it, or he's going to get banished, or he's going to get murdered. I mean,
they have to murder him if they have to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
he's going to say yes, and he'll be fine. I think it's just going to be really telling, because he has so much trust with people, and Ari had trust with people too. But like I said, Peter's doing what Ari did times 2, really putting himself out there. So he's going to have to be really deceptive to get away with this.
We have to give credit where credit's due again. I know this is also a pro Parvati podcast, but she is like the queen of like knowing and reading the energy spot on. Like the devil is better than the devil that you don't know. And she is clocking that 100% with Peter. So
I love Parvati, but I also think that she has some making up to do. She was a total flop in Winners at War. To be fair, her daughter was 10 months old. Her head was not in the game. She was actually going through things in her relationship. We know that she is now divorced from other Survivor player John Fincher. So that was a rough time for her. So I think that she has, game to prove to the fans, because she kind of didn't do that on Winners at War the last time we saw her on TV.
No, she didn't. I mean, and also Winners at War, if there's anyone else that's a Survivor fan listening to this, I hate Winners at War. I think it's honestly a horrible all-star season.
I agree.
They brought back too many. They brought back too many new school players. I hate new school era of Survivor. I don't like it. So I'll always remain old school loyal. So yeah, even though Parvati played a horrible game, the cards were against her in that season. So this is her redemption arc.
The cards are against her in every season. They were against her in Heroes vs. Villains. She overcame. They were against her in Micronesia. She overcame. They were against her in Cook Islands, and she overcame. Parvati can overcome anything. I think that her head just wasn't in the game for Winners at War, but I do feel like her head is in the game in Traitors, and I believe 100%. In her. So I was so nervous for her.
Whew. I was too. I was interested to see how she was gonna like handle a lot of the Dan backlash, or if she was gonna strike before he did, because I don't know. I feel like she knew that Dan was going to do something sneaky, and I was interested to see if she was gonna like strike before him, or if she was just gonna wait. And she kind of just waited it out, and luckily she wasn't Dan's target. But even if she was, I still think that would have sunk Dan's game even more, equally with his shot of sinking Phaedra's. I just think that Dan had too many people on him at the time, and he's the biggest target. But I think next week with Parvati, it's going to get a little scary, because now that Dan's gone, Parvati becomes enemy number one.
Yeah. So let's get to the round table. We're gonna go over those theories, but I want to break down the round table, because after the challenge, everyone was talking about what they were gonna do. Everyone seemed to be wanting to vote out Dan or Parvati. However, they both were pitching their case, and Dan was going around the house all day saying that he was planning on throwing someone under the bus at the round table, and he had facts, he had receipts, proof, timeline. Shout out Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, fucking everything to prove that Dan knew who a traitor was. And he had a target, but he was not going to tell anyone until the round table. We talked a little bit about how there was theories from last week, how people thought it was going to be Phaedra, and it was. So Dan starts off the round table and calls out Phaedra Parks. He says that he has been watching people this entire time. He's been taking note on who's been voting for who. He took note on Phaedra voting for Ekansu and her reaction, and how she comforted Larsa after Marcus was eliminated. He made a bold, flat-out accusation that Phaedra Parks was a traitor. Connor, what did you think of this move?
I thought it was a dumbass move. I thought, of all people that Dan could have thrown out, I just think that Dan easily could have had a better chance of staying if he threw out Parvati's name. I think throwing out Phaedra was too dangerous, and I find that so surprising, because how did Dan realistically think that he was going to get everyone in that room who, from the viewer's point of view, seems to love Phaedra? It seems that Phaedra's on no one's radar. So it's just an uphill battle trying to get Phaedra.
But he felt more loyal to Parvati, so he didn't want to turn on her. But you're right. If he wanted to stay in the game and he knew it was his last attempt, he should have said it to Parvati. And Trishelle caught it. Now Trishelle knows that Phaedra is a traitor, because Dan gave it away.
What Dan could have done was gone to Peter, because Peter seems to have all this conviction with his alliance, and he could have said, you know what? I know that Parvati is a traitor, and I will work with you to get Parvati out, and I will prove my faithful loyalty to you if you work with me to get Parvati out. You will see that she is a traitor. He easily could have done that, but like his loyalty with Parvati got in the way, and I'm happy that it happened, but that could have been a path forward for Dan. Maybe.
Parvati didn't play her. She didn't turn on Dan too quickly. She waited until she knew he was going home, and then Peter called her out for it.
100%,
rightfully so. But she didn't do that around the house all day. She could have, and Dan could have presented his case about Phaedra to Peter and to other people in the house privately before the round table, because I feel like when you come to the round table, it's too late. People kind of made up their minds. They've narrowed it down, and like there was no way people were going to have time to talk about voting for Phaedra at the round table. So he just waited too long.
It seems like the last few round tables that we've had, you're exactly right. I think this cast is coming in with like two minimum names, maybe three max, of people that they know that are traitors, or that they're suspecting are traitors. And you're kind of like they're already slating who to vote for the round table. And then it's kind of a choice that everyone has to make between those 2 or 3 people that they've slated to see go. So I don't know if that's part of the strategy here, but I think that's a pattern that we're seeing. And, I think Dan was just barking up the wrong tree with Phaedra, clearly, because she roasted his ass. And we saw it.
And especially because the way that they do their votes, like they vote right in front of each other.
Yeah.
And then they all reveal who they vote for.
Yeah.
So it's like not a lot of people are going to change their vote, especially because you want to go with a majority as the numbers get lower and lower, because you never know where things are going to go if you have the most votes.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly the strategy that you have to play when you're in a game of numbers, because you're just putting a target on your back if you're not going with the majority. That's what happened to Peppermint. That's what happened to Max. That's what happened to all those early boots, where if like you don't vote for that majority group, you're like, oh, that's kind of suspicious. And Dan tried to pull that out with Phaedra, saying how she voted for Ekinsu, but it didn't work. And I just think that is a true testament to Phaedra's game of how well under the radar she is playing without also being under the radar. Like she's not quiet like Dan. She's obviously very loud and she has a personality, but her composure is phenomenal. So I don't know what that's attributed to, if that's whether it's being a lawyer, a housewife, a mixture of both. Isn't she a mortician, I believe?
She is a mortician.
So and I don't know which one it is, but
and she's now on Married to Medicine. And there was an episode this week that was really touching. She threw her son a birthday party and he cried and said how much he loves his mom and how, she gives him crap when he gets B's, and how, it's because she cares so much that she cries more than her son does. And like this 9-year-old like had the nicest things to say about Phaedra as a mom, which I thought was really touching.
That's really sweet. Oh, well, I don't know a whole lot about Phaedra, but I'm very happy she's on this cast. I think this cast would needs someone like her. And I hope for other seasons we see, and we're not to say that Phaedra is replicable in any way, but like we see such moving characters like her, because it really makes a difference.
So she played it off pretty well. I think that she was like, you. Yeah. And I think that she had Kate's side. I think that because Kate also jumped in. When someone has your back, it really takes the heat off of you, because then now Kate's in the conversation and Phaedra could just let her defend her.
Yeah.
And Dan didn't have anyone to defend him. And I think when you defend people, it really shows where your loyalty is. And Phaedra had too many allies that there was no way it was going to work for Dan. So it was a waste of an attempt. And it also kind of ruined the game. Not ruined it, but it kind of blew up Phaedra's spot.
Yeah, it for sure put a target on her back. And I don't know if it like blew it up completely. I am a little worried. I think there's like a little caveat here, because I know Trishelle is on to Phaedra. She is now on to Parvati and Phaedra, it seems like. So
they could vote Trishelle out.
Yes, if Trishelle is convicting as Peter was, Peter's gonna play a different role next week. So Trishelle might be, this is my theory, Trishelle might be taking Peter's role of calling people out like Peter did this week. So we'll see. We kind of saw a little bit of it this week, so we'll see if she steps into it. But
I think the smartest move for the Traitors is to vote out Trishelle next week, because
I would agree.
Because I feel like Bergie could be easily manipulated, and Kevin will do whatever Peter says, and Bergie will probably trust Peter. So if Peter becomes a traitor, I really think that a lot of people will still trust him for a little bit, and they'll have to vote out John too, because John is smart and I think he's a good listener. Yeah. And I think that they're going to have to make serious moves as traitors, because they all are, on defense mode.
Well, what's sad about Bergie is that he's actually playing a pretty good game. Like he's been pretty spot on with who the traitors are and who he's going to banish. He was on Dan's case 2 weeks ago and he knew about that. But I think Bergie's downfall is that he's so young. No one's believing him. No one's taking Bergie's word.
How old is he?
Besides Peter. But I don't know. I think that's a reason to keep him, because no one's really listening to him until someone else is bringing up a point. It happened this week with Peter. People obviously trusted Peter because he was able to rally an entire alliance behind him. Bergie wasn't able to do that. So why get rid of that? No, he's not believable,
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens and who they go for. With Bergie, though, he could be on the chopping block because thank God he had that shield. He would have been gone.
Oh my gosh. I just can't even begin to stress like how dumb it was of Dan. And this is me saying how much I love Dan. I love Dan. I think Dan is such an amazing game player. And he even said he came out of retirement for 10 years of
yeah, let's talk about his exit.
Strategic game plan. And for him to, and I also thought it was funny that Phaedra said, "You won Big Brother twice." And he goes, "Well, I almost won twice," which is very true. He literally almost won the game, but lost it in the end. So,
ooh.
Yeah. So he won this first season, season 10, season 16. No, season 14. It was season 14, I believe, of Big Brother. They had captains of the season. Dan was a captain. Janelle was a captain as well. So they were on the same season. And then they had two other returning Big Brother players, and they drafted their own team. And they told them at the beginning that they weren't going to be, that they told the captains that they weren't going to be playing Big Brother. They were just there as support. They were there as captains. And then like halfway through the game, those captains actually turned into players. And Dan made it to the end of that season as well, but he lost it to someone else. So he's able to make it far. And I'm just so surprised that he blew up his own game.
Were him and Janelle in an alliance during that
No,
season?
Janelle and Dan have like never worked together.
Did they have beef?
They didn't have like it wasn't like major beef. Like it wasn't like Sandra Parvati beef that we saw offline. I think Janelle and Dan are friends, but they just never have had like the opportunity to work together. I think they've always just been in different huddles and camps in that season, from what I remember. And they just have never, worked together at the end of the day, even though they are friends. So, yeah, I would have loved to see them work together more this season, but, it is what it is.
Oh, shit. So Dan gets eliminated, and of course he, did his little speech. Pretty much everyone voted Dan, but Peter voted Parvati. Yeah. And then I guess everyone voted Dan?
I think Peter was the only one that voted for
Dan
Parvati.
Voted Phaedra.
Dan voted for Phaedra. So every single traitor was voted for tonight.
Whoa. So Dan goes home. I was like, it's time. There's nothing he could have done. He's been hanging by a thread for so many episodes. Like this truly was his last chance. Yeah. And his one thing that could have saved him is if they voted for Peter last time instead of Bergie. But because of that, his fate was sealed. And like you said, he should have turned on Parvati, but he didn't. So that's it. Bye, Dan.
And then he goes, yeah. And I'm sad to see Dan go, but it was his time. The writing was on the wall last week. The deed was sealed this week. It is what it is. But I don't know. In the turret, when we saw when we saw Alan come up and give the news that they're picking a new traitor, I loved Phaedra's reactions when Parvati was trying to tell her that she needed to recruit, she was willing to roll the dice. She's willing to take the risks. And Phaedra's like, you do you, Parvati.
And stop calling her poverty. Like everyone's poverty means poor. Poverty means poor. It's not P-O. And like whenever I talk about her, like my autocorrect does P-O-V-E.
Literally, yeah.
It's Parvati, and it's such a beautiful name. It's a gorgeous name. It's so unique. I've always loved her name, Parvati.
Yes, it's not poverty. So
Parvati.
I think Kate was even everyone was calling her. I think everyone in this cast that doesn't know Parvati has called her poverty at least once or twice. It's got to
stop calling her poverty. It's not funny. I can't stand it. So Dan is gone. Also, like he was able to stay longer, I think, because big personalities like Larsa, Janelle, Marcus, whatever, like people were always yelling at round tables. So I think that now that all the yellers were gone and like the outspoken people, like there's nowhere to hide anymore. And we really see that as the group is getting smaller. Yeah. So he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. I think his strategy of just laying low really came back to bite him, and his target of what he says he doesn't miss. He was right about the target, but he for sure missed hardcore with who he should have targeted because he didn't read the room right, and he didn't see it.
The fans are happy he's gone. I feel like everyone's gonna be talking about it. So big upset climax. But now Parvati and Phaedra are in the little thing. Thank God we had a few minutes left for them to talk. We said this last time. When they end it, they have to talk for a few minutes before they end it.
I know. I wish what we did see, though, a little bit more. I wish we didn't see as much challenge. I need some more strategy. I wanted to see more talk after the roundtable with the entire group. Like, we got like 2 minutes, I think, of just talk after the roundtable. I want to see like 5 to 10 more minutes of just like that talk that evening, because I feel like everyone had such like strong opinions about what happened, and like I'm feeling like we're missing on so much good information there. Maybe there's a reason why we don't see it, but selfishly I wish we had it. But at least we got the turret scene where Alan came up and he told them that they needed to recruit a new traitor, and at least we got who they chose to recruit, which is none other than Pilot Pete. So we have that information at least.
My Traitor's crush. So who else do you think they should have recruited, could have recruited? I think it's Peter is the obvious answer. Yeah. That's what I wanted them to do. Is there anyone else that could have been a second close by?
I think they could have recruited
Trishelle.
They could have recruited a Trishelle or a Sandra, perhaps, because I think
Sandra would have been good.
Why I say Sandra, I obviously love Sandra, but Sandra already has some heat on her, it seems like, where people have targeted Sandra, like the Janelles. I'm pretty sure someone else had also thrown out Sandra's name out there at a round table.
Was it Kevin? It was
Was it a housewife?
Maybe Larsa or Tamara.
It might have been Larsa.
Larsa.
I don't know. Someone did, but I feel like they could have also gone the route of Peter's obviously a faithful now. They could have also gone the route of picking someone that already had some heat on their back to deflect some of it. And I think Trishelle or Sandra might have been a good pick, because Trishelle, you have to remember, Trishelle has voted incorrectly. Everyone, I guess, is all these faithfuls that are so convicting or think that they have all voted incorrectly up until tonight. Mm-hmm. So you could have recruited someone like that who has such a strong personality and opinion that has been wrong this whole time to be a traitor. Same thing with Sandra.
Yeah, I mean, I think they made the right decision. I wanted them to choose Peter. I love how Parvati said, let's do it, girl. Like, let's roll the dice. Let's make the show. This is what the fans want. Like, thank God this is all kept a secret and that there's no spoilers online, because it's so riveting what could happen next. So I think they made the right decision, but the episode did end off with Peter and the envelope, and he knows that he has to make a decision, and that if he decides not to be a traitor, he potentially and probably will go home. So what is your prediction? Because we didn't get a teaser.
I think Peter will choose to be a traitor because he has to, because I think he's smart enough to realize that if he doesn't, his game is sank. And he's going to get banished. He's going to get murdered if he doesn't get banished anyways. Mm-hmm. So I think he's really stuck in a corner now where he chooses to be a traitor. What I'm interested to see is how he interacts and if he's able to actually hide it with his alliance that he has formed and that he has spearheaded. Because if he is, kudos to him. And that'll be, time telling to see if this is going to be in his cards in the long run to make it far. But he could crumble. And I hope he doesn't. And I hope that he plays it cool. But
so
I don't know.
I think he's built enough trust with his alliance that they will trust him. But do you remember last season? Was it announced when Cody went home that there was going to be a new traitor, or was that something Ari just revealed later on?
I was thinking about that. Alan for sure made an announcement that someone would be recruited. I'm pretty sure he made an announcement. What?
He didn't say it this episode to the group.
No, he didn't. But I remember he did it. He said it in season 1 that someone was either recruited or was being recruited.
Oh, and then had the option to accept it.
I don't know if Ari had the option to accept it.
He did have the option to accept it.
He did? Okay.
But
Alan did say something.
We might have to rewatch that episode.
I know. That seems like it because we're not. But I do remember that they had the option, or that Alan did say that someone was recruited or was being recruited.
So if Peter acts even remotely different after it's announced that someone's recruited, then they're going to come for him. But if they don't know that someone is recruited, then Peter might be able to stay incognito for a little bit longer.
For sure. I feel like that for sure is going to come out. That's such a disadvantage to faithfuls to understand that, like, he is like not being recruited. Like, that would be perfect case scenario for Peter, but that's totally not fair. I would be surprised if
it has to be announced that someone was recruited.
It has to be announced.
Okay, and I guess everyone here has seen last season, so they're going to assume that someone was recruited anyway if they're smart.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're thinking like a producer, then they would know the producers choose specific people to be traitors based on archetypes and characters. And that's why I think Sandra is a major suspect too. But Sandra is also like such a good faithful too, like with her history.
Yeah.
Because Sandra could have been a hero on Heroes versus Villains. Like she didn't have to be a villain.
I think Sandra should have been a hero, to be honest.
Really?
Sandra for sure should have been a hero. She could have been.
She could. Didn't she say that on the first day?
Yes, Jeff Probst had asked everyone if they were on the right tribe, and Sandra was like, "I'm not on the right tribe. I should be with the heroes."
You know, Pearl Islands is on Netflix, and I started watching a few episodes of it. I think I watched like 3.
Rewatching it?
Yeah, just because I wanted to watch a season, but I don't want to watch that season. I want to watch a different season.
The first episode of Pearl Islands is insane. I'm pretty sure that's the only season. So you saw them like barter and stuff like that, and like in the Pearl Islands where they're like buying like chickens and bananas and shit like that. Like that was crazy. I don't know if any other season has done that, but it was wild.
That's what I miss about Survivor is that they used to do different seasons in different countries, and like. Yeah. Are you going to be watching season 46? Because
that's what I was telling you. I'm over Survivor. I'm still going to watch it. But like, I'm done with this whole like Fiji 26-day BS. Mm-hmm. It's getting old. Yeah. It's not working. It's not the same game as old school Survivor. I don't like what it's becoming. I always have wanted to play Survivor, but like, I don't want to play 26-day Survivor. I'd rather play 39-day Survivor because it's a total different game. It's not the same. So I don't know.
Okay, well, we now can get to my special announcement.
Yes, I've been waiting.
Oh God, I hate this, but I had to keep everyone waiting. I kind of alluded to this earlier this week, maybe on my Bachelor podcast, but I am going to be interviewing the cast of the Traitors. Oh, I got an opportunity, and I'm heading to New York next week.
That's insane. Will you please? If you just like talk to Parvati, can you tell her that she has a fan in LA, like down the street as her, and that I love her?
I have a lot of things I want to say to Parvati. I will add that to my list.
Okay.
You can send me a video. So yeah, I'm going to be chatting with a bunch of them. I'll have them for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, potentially in groups of 2, potentially in groups of 1, maybe 3. I, told them who was most important that I wanted to interview because there isn't going to be a bunch of them there, but I might not be able to talk to all of them. So of course I put Parvati, Peter, Sandra,
oh my gosh,
on my list. Dan, I put on my list, Phaedra, MJ. Yes. I was like, I'll take all of them. So it really kind of depends on how the day will go. It's next Wednesday. So
that is so exciting. So you're going to be in New York next week for it?
Yes, I'm flying out on Tuesday. So I will be in New York for like 5 days. I'm so excited. I usually don't like believe these things until I'm like there, but it's cool because it's going to be just like I did for House of Villains. It was like on my phone, but now I have a little bit more experience. So I'm really going to have to make sure I have good microphones and audio, and someone's going to help me. So it's.
Oh my God, I wish I could come. Jeez, I'm jealous.
If it was in LA, I would have brought you.
Oh my gosh, I'm upset, but that'll be so much fun. Have the best time. Please take videos, and of course I know you're gonna do that.
Well, the whole thing is on video.
Well, I know, like try to get like another cameo on the side. I don't know, maybe with like
Parvati. You want a cameo? I feel like you can like send me a video and I can be like I can edit it in if you want my podcast. But okay, I can just I will talk to all these people and I'll try and get them for an interview like later on.
Yeah, we need them postseason. We for sure need
interviews.
Postseason, number 1 is Parvati, of course. Number 2, it's got to be Sandra. And maybe both of them at the same time. Wouldn't that be insane? But that's so cool.
Oh my God, I know. I've literally manifested this. So I'm like so excited to like meet Parvati.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is next Wednesday. So next time we talk on our next show,
we'll go over it.
We can talk about it. I don't know, I don't know how much footage I'll get. I don't know all that stuff yet, but I will definitely have some fun updates next week.
Okay, well, we have to start with that next week to talk about like a quick overview of what happened.
For sure. Okay. And then we'll have to talk about the episode. Next week might be long.
Next week might be long, but I think it's going to be exciting.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Leave your thoughts, your comments down below. We do read all of your comments. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and follow Connor. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.